Hi everybody, Stefan Molyneux from Free Domain Radio. Hope you're doing well. Time to dive into the hive mind of YouTube comments and provide some feedback for those who have taken the time to comment on the videos. So, this is from a video or podcast called The Atheist's Burden of Proof, wherein Daniel says, "As much as I love Steph, I think the caller owned him. Steph kept insisting things that were provably false. For instance, he made the assertion that 2 and 2 can never make 5, or a square circle can't exist. But physicists tell us that the farther out in the universe you go, the laws of physics break down. Seeming impossibilities and contradictions become facts." Well, that's not proving anything. Saying that reason breaks down billions of light years away at the very edge of the universe doesn't have much to do with the debate occurring on planet Earth. That's it's like saying, I don't need an umbrella when it's raining because somewhere it's sunny. Well, we deal with local conditions, and philosophy deals with local conditions on the planet Earth. People try to find a place to put irrationality and validate it, to make irrationality empirical. Now, they used to do this in the realm of deities. Now, they tend to do it in the realm of quantum physics and the edge of the universe, where up is down, black is white, and so on. But this has no bearing on the question of the validity of detecting a deity in the here and now on this planet, in this universe. It doesn't make any sense at all. Saying that there could be some realm in physics where rules may be different does not invalidate any of the rules that are local. Just to sort of give an example, I've never heard anyone say, well, you see, the KKK might have been a really great organization because right at the edge of the universe, perhaps racism and lynching are really great, morally good. So we can't say anything. We can't put anyone in jail. We can't fail anyone who's trying to complete a test because in another universe or at the edge of this universe, the exact opposite could be true. That doesn't try saying that to your Visa bill company, right? You see, but at the edge of the universe where the laws of physics are supposed to perhaps break down, maybe I did pay this bill, so we're going to call it even, right? That's just not how things work. And that's sort of first thing. Secondly, what's happening at the edge of the universe in theoretical physics has no bearing on the genesis of religiosity, which occurred during very primitive times in the development of human thought, consciousness, and a pretty anti-scientific attitude. So sun-baked Bedouin 5,000 years ago didn't know a whole hell of a lot about what was going on at the edge of the universe. They thought the universe was basically like a pie shell with holes where light came through. So I don't think we really want to look at the genesis of religiosity and say, well, somehow gods may exist because at the edge of the universe, opposite, maybe up and down, maybe black and white, and, could be chaos and confusion and dogs living with cats and all that kind of stuff. So trying to find a realm wherein logic is invalidated and therefore saying anything could be true is not rational. But of course, we're never going to get out to the edge of the universe anyway. It's billions of light years away. Nothing can travel faster than light, as far as I understand it, except Captain Kirk's nutsack. And therefore, I don't think we're really going to have to worry about logical disproofs coming from the edge of the universe. So he goes on to say, secondly, Steph is trying to impose man-made logic on God. I'm not even a theist and am no peddler of religion, but I'm a believer in rational thought. I think if you say reason invalidated by the edge of the universe, I'm not sure you're actually much of a believer in rational thought. That being the case, even I concede that man-made logic is just that, man-made. It's not objectively real, as much as we want it to be. Steph made the comment, consciousness without matter cannot exist, and the kid said, prove it. Of course, Steph can't, and his arrogance prevents him from seeing he just got owned. Well, consciousness without matter is for the other person to prove. Because the standard is that we never see consciousness without matter nearby, right? You never see consciousness without a brain in the vicinity. And yes, you can look at videos and so on, but you understand what I'm saying. And so if the norm is, if everywhere and forever we have only ever seen consciousness where there is matter, where there is a brain, the mind is an effect of the brain, just as gravity is an effect of matter. And so if the norm is we always see consciousness where there is matter, if somebody says consciousness can exist without matter, they're the one making the claim outside of reality, outside of what is proven and logical and empirical and so on. Like if I say, this rock, when I let go of it, is just like all the other rocks, but it will fall upwards. Well, that's kind of an extraordinary claim, and therefore extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So this needs to be double, triple checked, quadruple checked in every conceivable way with every conceivable instrument, because I'm making a claim that goes in direct opposition to the norm that the Earth, the planet Earth, as having much larger gravity, will pull the rock down just as the rock will pull the ground up, but to a much smaller degree. So if I'm saying, look, if I have this rock and I let go of it, it falls down, I think we're all going to accept that that's the case, because that's the norm and that's what's been observed and that's what conforms with science and empiricism and rationality. If I say this rock's like the other rocks, but it's going to fall up, well then I'm making a claim outside the norm, and therefore the burden of proof lies on me. So when I say consciousness has never been observed and cannot theoretically or conceivably exist without the presence of matter, it's kind of axiomatic, because to detect consciousness, we are going to need to detect its effects on matter, right? You cannot claim that something exists unless you can empirically observe something materially, or at least the effects of matter. So gravity exists in the presence of matter. And so consciousness cannot exist without matter. Where there is no matter, we will never be able to detect any consciousness. But the moment that consciousness makes itself known to us, it's through creating tablets or speaking to us or giant thumbs writing in the sky or something like that. It's going to have an effect on matter. So that's important as well. The burden of proof lies upon the person making the extraordinary claims. So, of course, Steph can't prove any of the things he's saying. They're mere assertions. So when he says that the laws of physics may break down at the edge of the universe, and therefore 2 and 2 can make 5 or a unicorn or something like that, he's actually just making an assertion. So apparently making mere assertions without proof, because he hasn't proved that 2 and 2 make a unicorn at the edge of the universe. He simply made an assertion. So apparently for me to make mere assertions is really, really bad, but for him to make really, really assertions is logically responsible and so on. So he says, Steph can't prove any of the things he's saying. They're mere assertions. And even those assertions he's making, like the laws of physics, as we understand them on Earth, must apply to the rest of the universe, have been debunked by actual physicists. Well, I would really like to see how physicists say that the laws of physics only apply on the Earth. And the moment you break orbit or you get above the atmosphere or whatever you consider the edge or the end of the Earth, oh, look, if I jump, wait. No, still going back down. See, I was off the Earth for the moment, still happened to come back down. I would love to see a physicist say that the moment you leave Earth or the local area, the laws of physics don't apply anymore. I mean, nobody says that. I mean, nobody with any brains or any understanding of science. So it's like quantum physics, right? Quantum physicists will say, yes, some freaky stuff is happening down at the atomic and subatomic level. However, at the realm of sense data, which is really where philosophy operates, physics is perfectly predictable and uniformity. All of quantum effects cancel out by the time you get to anything that you can remotely see and touch, even in a microscope. So the idea that no physicist believes that the laws of physics as we understand them on Earth must apply to the rest of the universe. Well, they do. They do. And that's how we know we can get a spaceship out past the recently demoted planet of Pluto and so on, because we know that the laws of physics apply universally. If they're not universal, then they're not laws of physics. They're culture or something like that. So Steph's intellectual limitations were on display for all to see. And reason is not man-made. Man-made. I mean, a computer mouse is man-made. A monitor is man-made. Logic is not man-made. It's not invented arbitrarily. Like I can make a painting. That's nothing universal. But logic is, as Rand called it, the art of non-contradictory identification. Logic is making sure that your thoughts are about anything that is objective is as consistent as those things which are objective. It is an attempt to conform human thought to the objectivity and empiricism and predictability and uniformity of rational principles that are universal, physics, laws of physics, and so on. And so we have reason, which is accepted and understood and propagated because it matches the consistency of sense data and matter. So it's not invented, and nobody invented that an object falls to Earth at 9.8 meters per second, or that gases expand when heated, and nobody invented or merely created out of nothing the scientific method. The scientific method was created in an attempt to get human thought about reality to match the universality and consistency of reality. And so it's not just made up by people. It's a rational discipline that mirrors the objectivity of reality itself. So again, I'm happy to hear. I find the edge of physics fascinating stuff. It doesn't really have anything to do with philosophy because when we're never going to get to the edge of the universe. I mean, it's expanding, almost at the speed of light. We can't possibly catch up with it. And of course, the universe at its current state remains in hot debate among physicists, even as the Big Bang does. So it's not really got anything, certainly got nothing to do with ethics or virtue. What goes on at the edge of the universe has nothing to do with whether rape is moral or immoral in the world, or in a spaceship going around the world, or anything like that. So the idea that we can find some place in science where we can put our irrationality and call it rational is a fantasy. The whole purpose of science is to discover universal laws. If there's freaky stuff going on at the edge of the universe, should we ever get there, then the purpose of science will be to figure out how to de-freak it, right? I mean, things fall down. A helium balloon falls up, and the purpose of science is to explain why. The helium is lighter than air and so on, right? And so the purpose of science is to de-freak stuff. If stuff remains freaky, which of course it probably always will, because there's always further barriers of knowledge to be knocked down by the lines of science, then the purpose of science is to de-freak it. But saying somewhere in the universe, freaky, rational, anti-empirical stuff could exist. Therefore, every crazy statement that everyone says could possibly be true is not a rational use of science, and certainly not anything to do with philosophy. It's an attempt to evade the necessity of rational universals and rational thought and rational logic. So I've read somewhere that the definition of a mammal is warm-blooded, suckles its young, gives birth to live young, not through eggs. And I repeated this foolishly without checking every conceivable exception to this rule, and I was mistaken. There is apparently a very large phalanx of platypus fetishists who have taken a moment from refusing to grease up their young furry creature lovers and have informed me a platypus lays eggs and is a mammal. I said mammals, do they give birth to live young, or do they give birth to eggs? If it's eggs, not a mammal. Somebody replied, Steph is clearly being paid off by the anti-platypus lobby. That's true. That is true. It is. I think the Koch brothers are branching out from conservatism to a hatred of the platypus. Eggs from mammal? That would be platypus. Echidna. Your ignorance of the natural world is abysmal. As of right. Pliny the Elder often wrote of natural rights. So my ignorance of the natural world is abysmal. That may be a little strong, given that there's some very odd exception that was not talked about by the biologist that I read about. He forgot about the platypus. The platypus would like a word with you. For everyone out there, yes, a platypus is a mammal. It's an egg-laying mammal. So for all of those platypus lovers, I do apologize for standing between you and the object of your affection. And I absolutely correct and will refrain from making that definition in the future. I do actually appreciate the correction. I'm not trying to be too snarky, but thanks everyone.